Hi everyone, this is medium and channeler Bonnie Vent. I channel the connection. I'm here with author and radio show host Marla Brooks, and you'll see her when she talks. The screen will flip back and forth. And we did take some feedback from the show last week, and we thought maybe we should explain a little bit more about channeling, and in particular how the connection works. So these questions have been asked before. They're in my book, which you can find on Amazon, but to very briefly explain, they come through. They're a group of energy beings, and when I ask them to identify themselves, they give me a visual that is comfortable for me. So this isn't exactly what they are, it's just a representation of something that's meaningful. I come out of a business environment. So what they show to me is a group sitting around a conference room table like you'd have in a management meeting type of situation in a work environment. They each have their own area of expertise. And the way they explained it is that they put out a multidimensional blended voice, which then gets synthesized through my brain, which they also pick up reference points from my own personal experiences to make the communication more relatable to the audience, because they have not actually lived a physical life. So they tap into what they consider to be a dictionary type of thing in my brain in order to bring the messages out to you. And the examples that they give would probably be examples from my own past experience or things that I know from other people. So that's a little bit about how this process works from their end. For me, it's just a matter of opening up and giving an allowance and intent to have them come through. So what was noted last week was that when I channel, that it seems somewhat mechanical or monotone. And this might be an explanation for that, is that it truly is a lot of voices all coming through together to you, the audience, as one voice. So there is a lot of processing taking place in what you're seeing and experiencing when you watch me channel. So I hope that's a little bit more information. I think Marla has some surprises cooked up for me on what she's going to ask, and I have no idea what she's going to ask. But Marla was curious to get a little bit more information about the connection. So I'll let her explain that to you. So go ahead, Marla.
Okay, I'm going to do a card pull when Bonnie starts going into trance. But yeah, I've got a cat that's going to bite me. I've got some questions that will go in a little bit more in depth as far as the connection. I know Bonnie just gave you a pretty good explanation of who they are, but I've got some questions for them. And please, you know, this is what it's all about. Those of you in the chat room, please feel free to ask questions, because we're not doing personal questions, but we're doing general questions. Like I said, I'm kind of doing stuff about who they are, what they're doing, you know, that kind of stuff. Don't want to say anything because Bonnie's listening. But we're just trying to get that basic stuff done that we didn't do last week because it was our first show. And so, yeah, we're going to do that tonight. Just get into that. But if you have any questions about things in general, I've got a couple of questions for them about things that are going on around. You need to be in the chat room to ask the question. But it's not hard to do that from what I understand. So, and I'll be monitoring the questions. If we get a whole bunch of them that goes really fast by, and I don't get to your question, just remind me and ask again. And we should be good. All right. Bonnie, are you ready to do what you're going to do?
Oh, one thing also I wanted to mention for those that are into like little experiments, which I definitely am. This is a plasma light. And as you can see, if I touch it, it's drawn to my energy. So one of the things I've always wondered about, and I have no idea, I haven't tested this out before, so you guys get to be my little scientist people also, is that when I channel, does it affect this energy in any way? So you might want to also keep an eye on what this might be doing, if anything. Also gives you something pretty to look at. And so that's the little experiment I set up for tonight. And before we get started, I just wanted to make sure that everyone can hear us okay and that you can see us okay. These platforms tend to get unstable, so I just wanted to make sure. So if you could just put in a little, we hear you, make sure that we're connected up with you guys and you can hear us all right. And there is a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to wait here for a second.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm rustling up the cards for the reading.
Marla's very anxious in kind of a sadistic little way.
No.
So I'm sure I am just as fascinated by what's happening as everyone else is, because even though I know this is real and I know it works and it's very reliable and the information is very high quality and very accurate, I really don't know how it works. That's why I do these little experiments. I just think they're kind of fun to play with the energy and see what might be going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so I need to kind of get settled here a little bit. And they are going to work a little bit on their presentation. So if there is a difference, that would be great. But that's totally their jurisdiction. And as you can tell by the explanation, it takes a lot on their side to get this information out. So it's really more about the information, which also people have mentioned that looking at the video later multiple times, it's rather like peeling an onion. The more you watch it, the more information you receive, which is also a telltale sign of good quality channeling. People ask me that too. How do you know what's good and what might not be? And that's a very good sign. And also if it appears to be timeless, so that no matter when you're looking at it, it's relevant and it resonates with you. Because that's part of these messages, is they need to resonate with the person that's listening. And this is not for everyone. As a matter of fact, it's probably for a very small percentage of the population. But this is mission driven. And their core mission is to assist with the transition that we're going through and the shift, because there's a lot of changes happening as you're starting to experience. Marla's probably going to ask me about that. But I just want, no. And they may say it again, but they will work on, they did say they would try and work on the it not being so monotone, because it is very important to them that the messages get received in the best possible way. Just so you understand, there's a lot of mechanics behind what you're receiving. Okay, so I'm gonna let Marla do her card pull, which is gonna set the tone for the channeling for this evening. And so take it away, Marla.
All right. Like I said last week, every week on my website, I do a card pull and Facebook, and it kind of sets a tone for the week. So if you're curious about what's going on for the week ahead, you want to know, you want to be forewarned, that's kind of what it is. So go to my Facebook or go to my website, marlabrooks.com, and you can go ahead and get it. Now, tonight, we're doing it to kind of set the tone for what's to be. And let me grab a card here and see what we got. Okay, we've got the Athame. Now, the Athame is a double-edged sword, basically. It's a silver dagger, actually. And it's a magical tool that's used in many witchcraft traditions. And like a wand, it's primarily, God, I need a new mouth today, used to channel and direct energy, like when you're casting a circle. It's never used for cutting. You can't do that. Or any other mundane purpose. And it's connected to the person that has it on kind of a personal level. And it kind of is said that it can pass between the veils between this world and the other world. So it's pretty interesting. Now, when you get this card, I'm going to get the glare out of it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. When you get this card in a reading, the message is that while you have the ability to see both sides of the issues or problems that you're facing right now, you're choosing to be very one-sided and only seeing what you want to see rather than digging deeper for answers that'll allow the situation to be resolved once and for all. Because whatever is going on with you, it's been going on too long. And so as the sword has a double edge, so does most things. And so it's the duality of dark and light and good and bad that balances our universe. So you can't survive without the other, obviously. And so this card is suggesting now open your mind to all possibilities, look at both sides of the situation to get information that you're seeking. And this is where you will ultimately find the truth. So that's kind of what we're doing tonight. We're going to be hearing things. There may be two sides to the situation. There may be one that resonates to you. But I think the last thing I said about opening your mind is important. So while you're listening to this, open your mind and feel free again to ask questions in the chat room. Now, we're not doing personal questions, as I said, but anything you have to ask the connection about things that are going on in the world, in things, predictions for things or whatever, but just, not personal, like you don't want to, find out about Aunt Tilly or something like that. So, all right, let me dig up my questions here. I think Bonnie looks about ready. The connection looks about ready too. And so, hello, connection. How are you?
Greetings to you, Marla, and to all that hear and observe this transmission, either now or at a later time. We will be trying to make adjustments and to perhaps look a little less off in the distance than maybe we have had the channel do before. We are just trying to avoid any distractions, as it does take effort for the channel to hold the energy. So please do not be concerned at the faraway look. There is no harm or energy drain in this process. As a matter of fact, we like to boost the energy of the channel. So if you speak with her later, she will inform you that she is very high energy by the time the channel is completed. And it takes her a little bit of time to come back down to a normal level. We did hear your suggestions to not be so monotone, and we are somewhat limited due to the process, but we will do what we can. We also are very careful that we do not offend, as making jokes and things of that nature, although the channel has an excellent sense of humor, we do not necessarily understand the context of that humor, and it can be inappropriate, not in a hurtful way, but just in a way that would not be understandable. So we do try to keep that to a minimum, but rest assured that we do have a sense of humor of our own as a collective. And we have great empathy for your experience while you're living your life. This is why we are here to assist you as best we can without interfering in your day-to-day life. We hope that that is understood, and we now leave it for Marla to ask whatever questions, and also those that are attending this session.
Sorry, yeah, we do have some questions coming in, but I think one thing that I was asked after the last show was to find out more about you, the connection. Can you explain who you are? I don't want to say what you are because that doesn't sound right, but I think people need to kind of want to be able to visualize who you are, if that makes sense. Can you fill us in a little bit?
We can give you analogies such as that was provided by the channel, but we are pure energy. The best we can relate to you would be that most who attend this session are aware that they are an energy being in a human physical body. That being said, we are the energy being without the physical human body.
Okay, question from the chat immediately. Can you explain where you come from?
We are from another dimension, a much higher level dimension, but we hesitate to put these labels as they have been labeled in the past and they are now restrictive in nature. If you were to think of the dimensions as a flat disc, much like a vinyl record, which I hope there is still some frame of reference to this, there are tracks running next to each other. So if you consider the track to be your life, and we are on another track running at the same time as your track, but the music is completely different than your track. We hope that that isn't too confusing, because to refer to them as higher levels is an old reference, but not exactly accurate, as everything is occurring simultaneously. Our energy, as well as yours, is all running simultaneously, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So what is your purpose for connecting with us, for wanting to connect with us?
There are people that are currently living a life here on Earth that came in with the specific purpose to help and assist through this transitional time. And we are here to assist those that came in with that core purpose. This is why we do not request personal questions, dear ones, because you are actually operating as one, whether you are currently aware of this or not. We are looking at it from that perspective, rather like being in an airplane as opposed to being on the ground. The perspective is completely different. We are not so concerned about the dramas of day-to-day life, other than you stay out of fear and stay focused on your core mission. The distractions are great and many at this time. A lot of the old systems are falling away, and they are very much relied upon by many. New systems need to be created to accommodate the loss of the old systems. This is why you are here.
All right. Now you were talking about a transition, and I know Bonnie has spoken of it before. Now, there's a question in chat. Lourdes said, I heard about a planetary alignment in the near future, and if that is true, how will it affect us? And my follow-up to that is, does that have anything to do with the transition that you're talking about?
Indeed, it does, as the planet is also transitioning, as well as the occupants on the planet. This also includes your animals and your plants and all living things. They are all going through their adjustments. Scientists have been aware of these changes, and certainly there is history on the planet of massive changes, such as ice ages and tremendous amounts of volcanic activity, and creatures that existed at other times that no longer exist. This is a similar type of transition, as in your earth changes are much larger than what you are used to. There have always been volcanoes and earthquakes and floods, but have you noticed that they seem to be extra large in size? This all needs to be accommodated into a day-to-day life, which is not really equipped to accommodate such things. We are here to assist, and there is indeed a uplifting of the entire planet. Some will choose to leave now, and others will remain. And that is completely acceptable and of their choice. Please don't judge those that decide that they want to exit at this time. They will have the opportunity to come back later when things are a little more peaceful.
Cynthia is asking, how long will this transition take?
We cannot give times other than it's been going on for a very long time and will continue to go on for a very long time. The challenge for you, dear ones, is to cope with these transitional changes and to assist others around you that are not as aware as you are. There is a necessity for holding of the energy and keeping calm in times of panic. And you need this understanding and awareness to be able to hold that energy and not follow the panic of crowds. It's very important that you use your powers of discernment and to sort through fact from fiction in what you are being told, as common knowledge may not be truthful or accurate. You may have noticed this, that the reliability of information is being manipulated. That is no accident. And we suggest that you look for yourself and decide for yourself, as opposed to just going along with something that you may have heard. So you need to keep an awareness without being afraid, and you need to be able to communicate that to others.
Okay, Sherry Lynn says, I feel I'm here on a mission to help those awakening at this time, and I'm in need of guidance on how to assist those who get caught up in the deep hatred of our current president. That's the question.
You are indeed here on a mission, and that is a very good example of what I was just saying. There is a concerted effort to generate this kind of hateful energy, which for those that are sensitive is very, very difficult and can cause great illness if you do not keep yourself aware. It can wear on you and cause exhaustion and dis-ease. We suggest that you stick to the thoughts of the core mission and work on yourself first. You will not be able to change the people around you, but you can be an example for them. So the suggestion would be, do not partake in those activities. Instead, stay focused on the positive things you came here to do.
All right. Now, as far as the transition goes also, I mean, people say that they're noticing that their pets are acting differently, animals in general. I've noticed that too with my cat, but for the past 3 days, for example, there's a huge flock of wild parrots, and they live in a tree about a block down. And they have just been going crazy, loudly flying and circling everything. I mean, yeah, birds flock, but they're running around and screaming and going in circles and everything. And it's a bit unusual, that type of behavior. Is there something that the animals are sensing that perhaps some of us are not?
Absolutely. In particular, the animals that you're referring to, birds, function on their own guidance system, and a disruption in the energy will disorient them. Their mechanism for protecting themselves when they feel disoriented is to gather into groups. An excellent example you have provided for us of what a human being needs to do. Groups need to be formed of people that have the awareness that you have a core mission and that you need to band together. The invention of the internet has made this task much easier in that you are literally spread all over the planet. So you may not find people in your neighborhood that have the same core mission or even an inkling that they have any type of purpose other than the mundane life. We suggest that you band together in groups and that you support each other in putting a positive effect out, in particular on the internet, as it tends to draw the negativity much more so than people would say in their day-to-day, face-to-face lives. There seems to be a disconnect when a person is on a computer. They don't feel like they need to restrain their energy. And if it's directed in a hateful manner, it will be even more so. You will probably notice that the hateful energy feeds upon itself. So one hateful comment brings another, brings another. The suggestion that we have is that you not engage in those, but that you create your own spaces that are safe spaces where the energy is much more positive and more goal-oriented.
All right. Sharon is asking, what if you don't know what you're here to do, and how do we ready ourselves for awakening?
If you do not currently have awareness, that is fine. Just the fact that you are here says you do have some awareness, and it will be presented to you. The suggestion would be to look for things that you are drawn to, things that bring interest to you, and things that are joyful. This will guide you in the direction that you need to go. Everyone has their own level of participation, and everyone doing anything in a positive way is contributing. So please don't feel because you don't have a firm set purpose in mind that you are not contributing. You are. You contribute with your energy and your actions with other people on an ongoing basis. That is a very large contribution, dear one. do not diminish the effect.
Okay. I guess this is an interesting question. People are probably curious too. But at the very beginning of your channeling with Bonnie, was it you that purposefully found her, or did she find you or go looking for you?
She was always made to do this type of work. She was born into this. Now, we have to say, dear ones, this is not an easy path. And you will find that the people that have psychic abilities and channel tend to have had problematic childhoods. The purpose for this, or the method to the madness, so to speak, is that the child will instinctively reach out to its guidance system. The child knows before adults, well-meaning adults, teach it to put it away, and that it's just their imagination. So she came in with this purpose and then reached out to the higher levels, and a connection was made at that point. So when she first asked us what our name is, we gave her our function, not our name. So the function is the connection, and the purpose is the connection of points and the following of dots and connecting people together. So it is a combination of deciding that you are going to live a life such as a channeler or a medium, and then dedicating your time and energy into that once you are connected. But it tends to be traumatic events that cause the human being to reach out.
All right. Now, you've mentioned traumatic events. You've mentioned panic or hysteria, how to deal with that. Is this something, and I know you can't give dates, you can't give times exactly, but is this something that the majority of us will be witnessing, or is this something that's going to take place maybe not in our lifetimes?
It has already started. So you are already witnessing it, but you are witnessing it from afar if you are in, say, California, where Marla and the channel reside. Certainly, if you are on the East Coast, you know that the hurricanes are much larger than they have ever been before. And you are firsthand witnesses, potentially, of the destruction. Unfortunately, once the event has ceased, you don't hear about these things anymore. And it is the nature of the human to assume that it must have rectified itself, or you would have heard about it. In fact, the destruction still remains, and people are currently trying to regain their lives. So it depends on where you are and what is occurring at that time. Certainly for California, there is great possibility of a very large earthquake, and your scientists have already predicted that this will be within your lifetimes. It's just a matter of whether or not the preparations are there to minimize the amount of damage to property and structure. but the human beings will be no less scared and displaced from their normal day-to-day lives. There is also a major shift in what people do to earn money to pay bills and that sort of mundane type of work. And there is great technology that is getting ready to be released that will cause great disruption in your work environments. This also can be very fearful causing. And the suggestion would be in those situations where you do not have a catastrophic physical damage, that you shift your focus into more entrepreneurial, heart-centered based businesses and away from the working for large businesses for a paycheck. Large businesses will be much more affected than smaller ones. So we can give you many examples, whether they be volcanoes or floods or tsunamis or earthquakes or job losses or change of governments. All of these things you can see in your present day, dear ones. It is not off in the future. Please don't ignore the warning.
So I guess, you're talking about the earthquakes and lots of things like that. So is this not going to be one, for lack of a better word, and it's not a good one big bang around the world? Is it going to take place in different regions in different ways? I guess that's the best way I can put it.
For those that study the cycles of nature, you would know that it is indeed a cycle. There is not one large event and then you are shifted into a higher level at that point. It is a series of changes, but the ride can be a bumpy one, can it not?
Mm-hmm. A question, were you alluding to power grids disruptions a minute ago? Amongst other things, I guess.
We did not list it, but you can also track with your current science the solar activity that's hitting the planet. And the electromagnetics is, as we spoke of, altering the guidance system of birds and bats and things that use the magnetics of the planet in order to steer themselves. So these disruptions are occurring on an ongoing basis. Thus far, the disruption has not been large enough to affect the power grid, but it is very vulnerable. Scientists have requested funding to do some work to minimize the damage, but as far as we are aware, the funding has not been approved, and so the grids do remain in a vulnerable state.
Lourdes is asking, she's saying that she heard that the magnetic field is shifting.
That is what we speak of. It is electromagnetics. And so you will see, such as with the birds, you will see shifting going on. You will also see changes in tides and things of that nature. So you are experiencing high tides currently and larger waves coming onto the planet. So the Earth is also changing, and you, dear one, are sitting on this blue ball flying through space. So as it is affected, so are you.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. When in future weeks and even tonight, is there any topic that you will not address if people are asking about? Is anything taboo?
We do sometimes guard our words, as we do not want to invoke any kind of fear, but we do talk about things that can invoke fear. We hope that they don't, and that you are aware and adjust and know what they are. Much better to not be caught by surprise. So we have no intention of putting out anything fearful or negative, but we do feel that we need to warn you and to suggest to those who are brought here with the core mission that it's time to wake up and it's time to step up and step forward into your purpose.
So basically what you're saying is that anybody who is listening in, who has the interest enough to come in and join us, that's part of the core mission. Maybe that's what you were referring to earlier, is those that don't know and those that are in the know, but maybe some people are just unwittingly falling in here, which is not a bad thing, but it just seems like those that are here are getting a heads up before those that aren't.
It truly comes down to resonance, and not everyone is going to become aware at the same time. That's why we're putting this information out now, to be saved in a very public place, so that not only are the people that are participating with us this evening, not only are they aware of the information, but as the human gains awareness, they will find this information. So you are leaving breadcrumbs behind you, so to speak. As this unfolds, other people will get this information as well. It is truly a matter of the person coming in resonating with the information. If they don't resonate with the information, they won't listen and they will not stay or interact. So we assume that those that are interacting with us in this live session are people that do feel that they have some core mission, some higher level reason for being here.
Mm-hmm. Kevin is asking, is the Earth going to repeat another ice age?
Not in your lifetime, dear one, but yes, all the historical cycles that your scientists are aware of, and that's not very many, dear ones, but the ones that they are aware of, they know that these earth changes occur. And there is no government or policy that can prevent this from occurring. However, the positive energy and the uplifting of the human and the planet in synchronization can minimize the amount of disruption. It is a spiritual task, not a physical task, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So Sharon says, so is our purpose to raise the vibration? And if so, how do we do that?
That is part of your purpose, and you just have to set your intention. And you need to be kind to yourselves, as you could fall into old patterns of negativity, but just do the best you can and work, like I say, on your own self first. Many that feel the core purpose, feel also a need to help others. This is a very noble cause, dear ones, but you deplete your own energy and resentment sets in. So we suggest that you take good care of yourself and your own energy. Let that energy resonate into your environment, and it will raise the resonance of those around you that are also on a similar mission or path, and those that are not will very quietly fade into the distance. So it's not a matter of the term cutting of cords or severing relationships. They just fall away naturally as your energy increases and your resonance increases. It is a gentle process.
Okay, we're going to have Bonnie come out of trance in a minute after I get done getting bit by the cat. But one thing you mentioned in the beginning was that Bonnie is getting rejuvenated and energized by having you, by channeling you. And I think earlier today, she's kind of suggested that even those listening may be getting some benefit of that as well. Is that the case?
It depends upon the depth of awareness of the human being and how closely they are listening with their heart. They might be listening with their ears. And if you are talking yourself out of what you feel is the right thing, it is human nature to do this. Oh, this can't possibly be right. It can't possibly be me. Why, would I be involved with this? I don't have anything to offer. As you repeat these very negative tones into your own head, you probably learned them in childhood. You need to stop that noise so that you can receive the very positive energy coming in. So if you notice that you are saying negative things to yourself in your own mind, please notice and stop and change what you're saying to yourself. You will then be able to receive the positive energy more effectively, as there won't be all that static and noise of your own self-talk in the way.
All right. I think last week we decided that Bonnie would only stay in channel for about 45 minutes because otherwise it's a little too grinding. So Bonnie, why don't you come back, and anybody that we didn't get a question for, please write it down and we'll get to it first thing next week, I promise. But we can't let Bonnie stay the way she is for too long. So
we would just like to thank you for attending and participating with us this evening. We are very grateful and we are humbled by your experience. We hope that this information is helpful to you and to others that find it at a later time. Until we meet again.
Thank you.
That was a nice pop in my neck.
Really? Well, it was better than the point I got from the cat, so I think you're ahead of the game.
Wow, time went by really fast, Marla.
It did, yeah. I mean, we had more questions to ask, but we promise that we'll do it first thing next week because you can't stay under there too long.
Well, that was great. Thanks, everyone. Did anything happen with the energy on the light? Did anybody notice anything?
A couple of people said that when you started talking, it's the thing started fizzling more.
Oh, hey.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it, because I've always been very drawn to plasma lights. I just really love touching them. They're just very warm and fuzzy to me.
Yeah.
And
Elijah said that it looked like the lamp was going off like bolts of lightning.
oh, very nice. Well, I look forward to looking at that in the playback.
Yeah. So you get to see all the things that we're talking about behind your back.
One of the things I was getting is I'm actually, as they say, I like to look away so that I'm not distracted. And there's a big picture hanging on the wall on the other side of the wall from me. And as I was looking at it, there was this really bright white aura coming off the picture, like about that far, all the way around. So it's like the whole thing was just all aglow. So it was very, very interesting when I get those visual effects, because that does happen sometimes.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm getting beaten up.
Well, thank you, T, for waiting till I was done.
He did not. Just so you
know.
Yeah, I think I have to get a treat for him and get him down off of there. Yeah, we were talking, and you'll see that we were talking about animals reacting to what's going on here and there. And case in point, I mean, he's a brat, but I was talking, and you'll see it, talking about birds. We have some wild parrots that have been flying around here like crazy, but just like screaming and circling and whatever. And this one's been a little riled up for the last few days too. So
yeah, well, I hope we don't get that big earthquake anytime soon.
Yeah. Got my water. I've got my earthquake kit, but
yeah. Marla's a little north of me, but we're pretty close together in California. So
yeah, I mean, it depends. If it hits in the San Fernando Valley, it'll be a little slower getting to me and even slower getting to you. But you never know. San Andreas Fault or any of the other ones could go. So I'm hoping that's not what it's all about.
Well, whenever the animals start behaving strangely, the energy patterns are being weird.
Well, this one is, this is a special case.
I just wanted to ask if anyone in the chat has any questions that they wanted to ask me. Not the connection, just any questions that you wanted to ask me, or any feedback you might have we're going to be doing shows on an ongoing basis. So we're very interested in what you might be interested in, and building that group and that community that they were talking about, where we're a very warm, friendly place for people to be on Sunday for an hour and participate and get their questions, their high-level questions answered. So if you have any questions for me, we've got, I think, 5 minutes before we sign off here. Marla and I can chat forever, so we'll continue to do that if you don't have questions, but I thought, you might have questions. Let me ask you, Marla, did you get enough information as far as what you're looking for from the connection of who they are and what they're about and what they're trying to do?
Okay, I think they gave us all that they're going to give. There's a little bit of secrecy there, I think. But yeah, I mean, they were nice about answering here and there. Elijah just said, or asked, can your guidance be wrong?
As far as personal guidance, it can be wrongly influenced.
Or what they're,
by your, Kim, are you talking about just guidance in general, or my guidance in particular?
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Elijah. I'm not sure I think he's asking if the connection could be wrong. Now, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think that's what might have been alluding to.
They could be. I haven't seen a circumstance so far, and I've been doing this for a long time. I haven't seen a circumstance so far where I could look at it and say that was not correct, because for years now they've been talking about the falling of governments, and now you've got Brexit and you've got our government partially shut down here in the United States. And so I can say that those things certainly have come to pass, and they were talking about it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. When they first started talking to me, they were talking about safe havens, and I'm safe havens from what? I don't see it in my environment. And now you can. And so I have not, and I'm pretty good about researching things where I can, but there again, the information is very high level. So it would be hard to validate some of these things. But as far as the earth changes and the governments shifting and changing, that's something that we can actually see right now in our environment. But they've been talking about it for a very long time.
Right.
It's there again, I don't like being, you know, a messenger of bad news, but all they're really trying to say is that, you know, hey, wake up and you need to adjust, because if you don't adjust, it's going to mow you over, you know, and so they're trying to be helpful. And, you know, the core purpose, that seems to resonate with me. And so each person needs to think about, does this resonate with them? And if it doesn't, then it isn't for you. Because this is not for everybody, not by any means.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's kind of interesting. So we have like 2 minutes, yeah, or 3 talk. So what's your message for today?
My message for today, I'm just glad that we got through this, and that I think the lighting is better, hopefully, because we had some feedback from last week that it was a little too dark. Mm-hmm. And so if everyone else is comfortable with this setting, this works out for me. Mm-hmm. So I just look forward to doing more of these, and it's a journey. You know, I don't know what they're going to say or what they're going to talk about, and you know, Marla's free to, you know, prepare what she wants as a moderator. So I really like not having the questions in advance. It's just, there again, I'm always got my skeptical hat on and what other people are going to say. You know, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you had all the questions in advance. You just researched it or yeah, whatever.
It's better that you don't have them, for sure. But
right.
You know, I prepare questions in case there's not a lot from the chat room, but we really welcome the questions from the chat because they're very enlightening. They're very curious, and, you know, it's important.
Well, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like you guys kind of got on a roll. So the one question was feeding into the next. Mm-hmm. And that's it really makes the time go by really quickly, and so you're staying like on a thread, which is a really nice way to go. It's more comprehensive for the person looking at it later. It's like, oh, this led to this, led to this. It's not very often that you get linear when you're doing channeling, but you know, we are very linear in our thinking. And so it makes it easier, I think, for other people to understand it later on. And then I'm glad my little experiment worked, and the little light liked it. So I think maybe we'll keep this.
It's pretty, if nothing else. But it is things, but it's very pretty. So we should keep that. And yeah, no, that's important.
Okay, so I guess we'll let you guys all get back to your evening. If you need to get a hold of Marla, her website is marlabrooks.com. My website is bonnievent.com. And then after this show is archived, you'll notice in the description, there's hot links to our websites and all of that. So you don't need to worry about writing it down if you don't have a pencil. But you can always find us there. And feel free to check out Marla's card readings that she does once a week on her website.
Yeah.
It's Mondays, right, Marla? You put up new ones?
Yeah. Yeah, they come up.
So you can get your inspiration for the week. So you had one tonight, and you can get another one tomorrow. So how great is that?
Yeah, tomorrow is the one. Tomorrow is the one where you get the personal answer. The personal week.
Absolutely, because you need to set your own tone for the week. I think it's, it's a good thing that we're doing that. We're pulling that card and setting the energy ahead. And a little bit of preparation is great for, all of you that are watching as well. Just set your tone, and I think you'll have a much nicer week. And then, don't forget to duck and get out of the way when stuff's flying at you.
Well,
that's happening too.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. And if anybody has a question that you think you're going to forget between now and then, just send me a note. Go to my Facebook page. Go to my website. Send me a note and say, this is a question for next week. And we'll get it in. But we're trying not to, like, somebody just had a personal question, but then she kind of made it differently. So it could be a general question for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that kind of thing is good. So, yeah.
Because people are going to be going through similar sets of circumstances. And so some things do apply to you personally and to other people as well. And
right.
Like I say, we're trying to make this helpful for everyone who comes behind and listens to it. Mm-hmm. That's why we want the more generalized questions, so that you're actually participating in something. If you feel this is your core purpose to help others, then you've helped a lot of people by participating in this tonight. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're going to be off. And if you want to review this, like Bonnie said, it'll be up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And probably several other places. You'll put them everywhere. Good.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for attending. And we hope to see you next Sunday at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern.
All right.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.